Hello, my name is Deborah Aparicio, and I am going to give you a quick tour of my Google Classroom. My Google Classroom focuses primarily on equivalent fractions. The first announcement that I have here in my Google Classroom, as you can see, it was done in Spanish because I teach Spanish immersion. And so I will try to translate what I have written here. The introduction here explains to the students what we're going to be learning about equivalent fractions. It states that equivalent fractions are fractions that have the same size or and fractions that are at the same point on a number line. Students are all, at the end of this module, will also be expected to generate equivalent fractions. The standards, the Common Core standards are listed here, and the module objectives are listed here as well. The first objective is students will partition a whole into equal parts and name the unitary fraction. Also, students will recognize and generate equivalent fractions by naming the same part of the whole. Students will recognize and generate fractions, equivalent fractions, as the same point on the number line. And students will explain equivalency of fractions and compare fractions, reasoning about their size. I stated here that students, if they have any questions, to contact me, and for more information they needed to visit the syllabus. So here I included a link to the syllabus, and in the syllabus I give students more information about how to contact me. Here's my phone number, my email address. I've included the syllabus. I did keep it in English for my professor. And here are the course objectives in English, as well as the sequence of the course, and then the rubric for answering short questions and responding short questions on the forum, the grading scale, the assignments, the bibliography, and where I listed the sources that I used to create this course. And here I have included the technology requirements. Let me go back to the module. So the first question that I have included is a question where students get to introduce themselves and write an interesting fact about themselves. Then I have also asked the students to come back and read other people's comments and respond either by asking a question or making a comment about the student's response. And here you can see I initiated the thread by introducing myself and giving students an interesting fact about myself. The second assignment is I've asked the students to define equivalency by first watching this Powtoon video that I created. They have to, in their own words, explain what the word equivalency means. And they also need to give an example of two things that are equivalent. And again, I've told the students that after they have written their answer, they need to come back and respond to a comment made by their classmates. This Powtoon video, the students will need Flash Player to watch it. I'm not going to play the entire thing, but here I give examples of two equivalent items, such as 4 quarters and $1. And so after the students watch the Powtoon video, they need to come back to the forum and do the same. The next assignment has students exploring equivalent fractions using geometric shapes. Students will be visiting this the Math Learning Center, one of the Math Learning Center apps where they can interact with shapes. And the goal or the objective for this lesson is for students to partition shapes into equal parts, name the unitary fraction, and then recognize fractions as equivalent when fractions name the same part of the whole. This is the link to the app for the Math Learning Center, where students will be able to interact with the pattern blocks, and then the students are guided by this video that I have created where it explains how to use the website. The video includes how students need to drag the items here. I have edited the closed caption so that if anybody would need to read as well as listen to read the text as I'm saying it orally. Let's see. And then students will respond to what they have learned from this video and their interaction with the patterns in this website by coming here and completing this assignment. Students will need to type their answers here, and there's several questions here that they need to add. I've changed here. They have to answer questions based on this whole, and then they will have to answer questions based on this other diagram where the whole is not just one hexagon but two hexagons. So it's quite an extensive assignment where they get to find equivalent fractions using the pattern blocks. The next assignment allows the students to also generate equivalent fractions but using a different model. They have to use the fraction brick wall. Here they can come and watch the video. The video will show them how to read the fraction brick wall, and then they can use this graphic of the fraction brick wall, or I guess they could also use this as well. Once they can use those to answer these questions. So for this assignment, what students have to do is find equivalent fractions to 1/2 or find equivalent fractions to 1/4. So the students would come here and see that this is 1/4, and anything that falls under this same line would also be considered 1/4. So they would write 2/8 in this block right here, where they would get to type their answers like this. The expectations, the goal for this is for students to generate equivalent fractions using a visual model. So a task is introduced here. They need to watch the video and explain, watch the video that explains how to find the equivalent fractions using the brick wall, and then complete the brick wall assignment. This assignment also explores equivalent fractions, but this is a different model. They're using a linear model. They're using number lines. So students will watch this video about finding equivalent fractions on a number line. Then they will watch this video as well to help them use, this video will explain to them how to use these number lines that are stacked one on top of the other, and how that helps them to find equivalent fractions using that graphic. Let me close this up. And so this assignment, students need to figure out which fractions are equivalent to 1/2. And what I'm trying to establish here is I need students to realize 1/2 is easy to identify. And so once they've established this benchmark, they can figure out if a fraction is less than 1/2 or if a fraction is more than 1/2. So the students will list those here, and I'm hoping that they will be able to see that relationship of the numerator and the denominator. And so this question is based on that skill, where students have to, they'll use the forum here to write an equivalent fraction to 1/2, explain how they know that fraction is equivalent to 1/2. They also have to write a fraction that is less than 1/2 and a fraction that is more than 1/2. And they have to explain how they know that those fractions are more or less than 1/2. Once the students have placed their responses there, they will read their neighbor's responses and respond by either asking a question or making a comment about their classmates' responses. This next task allows students to investigate equivalent fractions using a set model. And so the students are using a carton of eggs to partition the carton of eggs in different partition it differently so that they can generate equivalent fractions. This task has a PowerPoint that explains to the students how how this carton is partitioned into thirds. Then if I partition it like this, this would be 2/3. But if I partition the carton differently, for example, here's 3/4, but this carton can be partitioned in multiple ways. It can be partitioned in 12ths, or it can be partitioned in 6s. But ultimately, it represents the same fraction, even though it's not partitioned the same way. So this PowerPoint kind of explains to students that if you have the same number of eggs, but the only difference is that it's partitioned differently, you still have the same number of eggs, so the fractions are equivalent because they represent the same number. Once they come to this video, students will also learn how to use the website so that they can use the carton of eggs to partition and generate equivalent fractions. And so once they complete that, once they watch the video, they can come over here and open this document and partition these cartons of eggs in multiple ways to generate fractions that are equivalent. With the video, I thoroughly explain what they have to accomplish. And with here in this task, the students, again, some of the same objectives. They have to partition a whole into equal parts and identify the unit fraction. They have to use a visual model to represent fractions and equivalent fractions, and they have to recognize when two fractions are equivalent because they represent the same part of the whole. At the end, I have two assessments that I will be using. One of them was created with Google Forms, and it's a multiple choice quiz that they have to complete, and it also includes a short answer question. In addition to this assessment, they have a checkpoint where they have to explain. So they're given a fraction, and that is not showing up, so I'm going to have to modify that. But they're given a fraction, and then they have to determine if the fraction is less than, more than, or equivalent to 1/2, and explain how they know their answer. That is all I have, and I hope that this video gives a little bit of clarity of what I'm trying to present with my module. Thank you.